What's up, people? I am back for another video. I was supposed to do this video yesterday, but I got too busy and caught up with stuff. So today, I'm going to be doing two videos. I'm doing this one right now, my vampires review. But I do plan on, originally I was going to review Under Siege 2. I might still do that tomorrow, we'll see. But I decided today, since the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer, the new Jurassic World trailer came out, which I have seen, but I do want to still do, like, I guess, not necessarily a reaction. I guess it'll be kind of a reaction, but it'll be more of a me breaking down the trailer and talk about what my issues are. I guess mini review. The trailer was actually pretty good for the most part, minus like the reveal there's gonna be a mutated dinosaur. I'm like, why? I kind of am over the hybrids, and I like the Indominus Rex. I actually thought that was like one of the better things, probably the best thing about that entire Jurassic World trilogy, if I'm being honest. But I don't, after, Fallen Kingdom, I don't need any more hybrids. I would have just rather stuck with real dinosaurs because I'm worried now they're just going to make the dinosaurs just straight up monsters now, which I don't love. They're supposed to be animals. Like, they're not just monsters. So I'm hoping they're not going that route. But I do like the T Rex looks scary again. Looks like we're getting a scary raptor scene. It has a little bit of a Lost World tone, a little bit, because we're on an island. It's looking like we're gonna be on Site C. I don't think it's gonna be Site B. It looks like Site C, so that's gonna be cool because we've never really seen any of the other islands in the film. They've been mentioned, but never actually seen them outside of Sorna. So to see that would be cool. And I do like the tone of the trailer. So I have some positives. I definitely have some negatives though. I also don't really like that we're still going with the world name. Just call it Jurassic Park, please. Just call it Jurassic Park at this point. The World Trilogy was the World Trilogy. You call it, go back to Jurassic Park. But I'll rant about that more later. Today, we're going to be reviewing John Carpenter's Vampires. In my opinion, heavily underrated John Carpenter film. I actually think this movie is underrated in multiple ways. If you're asking me, because I think it's an underrated horror, like vampire movie for sure. But I also think it's definitely an underrated Carpenter movie because I feel like of his films we don't really talk about this one. It's some people just call it vampires. I just say the whole thing, John Carpenter's Vampires. I think that's just a better title. And the premise is, Clint Eastwood is a hunter who works with other hunters named Jack Crow. Who basically hunt vampires. And the way the opening film, I'm assuming it's like some kind of vampire nest. They go in there and basically kill them. They have like a whole fucking like thing, like whole setup. Like they have a rig that brings them out in the sun so they can burn. Which I really actually of like the vampire burn effect, where where they get burnt in the sun. They actually looks very cool in this movie. And his parents are murdered by vampires, so that's what fuels him. But the master vampire, Valak, I think that's the name, who ends up killing one night after celebrating their victory at the earlier in the scene in the movie. They go to a hotel, do a party, everything seems fine, and then Valak comes and basically just slaughters everybody. That scene was wild to watch. He ends up attacking a prostitute named Katrina, but she doesn't end up dying. But because now she is linked, Baldwin has to kind of take her, and the plan is they're gonna bring Valak to them so they can kill him. And that's kind of the film, really. It's them trying to kill Valak, really. And then, obviously on the run, they run into another father named Adam because James was raised His name is James, right? Jack. Sorry, I'm thinking actually his actual name, James Woods. Jack was raised by Catholics, so he has heavily ties to them. But yeah, it's a very good movie, very bloody. The vampires, in my opinion, are scary as fuck in this. I love the setting. I love the way John Carpenter just shoots his movies. He has a way of shooting his movies. Like, even like the font he writes, like the credits in and all that. You know, he has a way of doing, and you get those John Carpenter music cues in this. Not too many of them, but you do get them in this. And like I said, it's a more underrated Carpenter film because you compare it to like his others. Obviously, he's iconic, like Halloween and The Thing. Those are like probably his top two. Halloween might be in terms of how much it made, and obviously because of the amount of sequels it spawned. Halloween's his biggest franchise, and I know he doesn't like it became a franchise, but it's true. It's his biggest one because that spawned multiple. The big three is that one, then I would say The Thing, and then Escape, because Escape did get a sequel. So, but, and then you got They Live. It's just a lot of his other movies, even Big Trouble in Little China, I even feel like kind of overlooks this one. I think when we're talking vampire movies, vampire movies, I find this one does not get talked about a lot. Like, I don't see a lot of people talk about this movie. I don't even think there's that many reviews on YouTube of it. And I think it's sad. It sucks because it's a great movie. It's a good vampire movie. It's a good, probably my favorite James Woods movie, to be honest. Because he was just having fun in it. He plays a good badass. Jack, yeah, he's a bit of a douche. He's not your normal hero, but he works. Him and Daniel Baldwin. I was trying to figure out which Baldwin it was. I knew it was a Baldwin because he looked like Alec, but yeah, Daniel Baldwin was great. As Thomas. Oh wait, no, reading something else. Tony, who's basically Jack's essentially partner in crime. Though there's moments they come to blows, but yeah, and obviously he starts falling for Katrina, but she starts having visions, so she can like. And I love the moments when she is having visions because you see like a first person view of Valak doing his thing. Like the scene when he goes in a church, he kidnaps a priest, orders the priest to tell him the location, and then he kills the priest. And you see it like all in first person. It's really good. Katrina obviously ends up turning in the end, and we have like a big vampire face off because there's a scene where Valak turns other people. I'm assuming it's all the dead people that were he killed at the party. He ends up turning them into vampires, and he has like his own little vampire army, which that was cool. It has a nice blend of action and horror because it is horror. It has horror moments, but it definitely is an action movie. Like they for sure are going for more of an action tone, and it works. And yeah, you get titties. You get titties. So nothing wrong with that. So overall, I would give this film a 9 out of 10, especially as a vampire film. It is fucking good, and I know I'm kind of happy I didn't make my list now, because I may have to redo it because I might have to push this movie much higher now. Like when I mean much higher, like top 5 at least. This film is really fucking good, man. I did not remember this movie being this good. I have seen this. I remember watching this 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. It was like my first time watching this, and I'm just, how has no one ever talked about this movie? It's one of those vampire movies. I'm like, why isn't this in a lot of people's like upper echelon of vampire films that we should be talking about way more? You know, I like this film is great. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really have any criticisms. Like I'm trying to think honestly. Like Katrina's actress at times is wonky, I guess, but I don't think it was that wonky where it's noticeable. Honestly, I think it's fine. So like that's even if I had to find one kind of criticism. Because yeah, man, I think this is perfect. It does everything right. You have a fun vampire hunter and then a vampire, like the actual vampire, for him to be his foil. It works. Like Valak's a great villain. He's scary. That scene when he first goes to the hotel and he just slaughters everybody. It's fucking. He slices like a dude in half, like straight up in half, and you see it happen. And like I'm gonna say it, the blood effects look pretty good. Like they did their job of making the blood effects look good. You know, and I just realized why I think this movie probably got overlooked. This came out in 1998, and you know what other iconic vampire movie came out that year? Blade. Blade came out. So that just, in terms of vampires, it just took all the wind from away from this movie. And then also, I think a lot of people just more they more think Carpenter is like a 70s 80s director, and this came out in 98. So I think a lot of people like almost overlook a lot of his later stuff in general. I have noticed that. Like when we generally talk about John Carpenter, we stick to his like 70s and 80s stuff. The only thing that's 90s we might acknowledge is like Escape from LA, but that's because it's a sequel. But outside of that, I do notice a lot of his later movies do get overlooked. Like even like Prince of Darkness, I even think it's a little bit overlooked, and that's like late 80s. It's like 87. It's just but we do generally talk more about his 70s 80s stuff though. I do feel like a lot of his like later stuff does get overlooked, which sucks because this is a great film in my opinion. It has everything you want in a vampire movie. You know, good action, good horror, you know, a good vampire and Valak, who's probably one of my favorite vampire villains, honestly, in film. That's especially that's not named Dracula, you know. So 9 out of 10 movie. Oh, good score too. You know, Carpenter movies they have that great score. Obviously, I'll say the score is nowhere near iconic like his other scores, but the score still works. I in general just love Carpenter's scores for his films. It's simple. It's not overbearing. Like it doesn't take over like you know how especially and granted this is more of a modern phenomenon where I notice the sound mixing where sometimes it sounds so loud you barely can hear people talk. You know, it like takes over the scene. I don't think Carpenter's music's ever really done that. Unless like Halloween is like the only one, but 9 times out of 10 makes sense though. But anyway, um, yeah, I guess we can start getting into the review part. I don't know. We should be doing our Dynamite recap on Pin Down. I do not know yet. I'll find out. I think we are though, but we should be. But if we're not, I'll say something. But link still subscribe to Pin Down Podcast. Links will be in the description. Tonight I will be doing my breakdown. Actually, probably won't even be tonight. It might if I have the time. I might try to just do it during the day. Um, I might do my breakdown of the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer. We're gonna talk about that and go into detail. So it won't really be a reaction because I already watched the trailer, but it will be like a breakdown. I guess this is more me giving my thoughts on the trailer essentially. But I guess I guess I'll technically be watching it again, but I will be more breaking it down. So it won't just be me sitting here watching the trailer like that, like I did with the Crow one. But anyways, let's get into the vampires. So the film opens with Jack Crow and his team of vampire hunters, and they do a raid on basically a nest. And this was a cool scene because you see, and I should have talked about this more too, and I'm going to the weaponry Jack has. Like he has like this crossbow gun that also has like I think it's a grenade launcher because it's obviously meant to shoot out like something bright to affect the vampires. Like they go in like they had like their plan and everything. I love when movies, even though it's like the first of the movie, you feel like the camaraderie and the friendship between the group. Like you feel like you buy that these guys have been teaming up each other for a while. You know, because a bad movie with a premise like this, when you're supposed to be following a ragtag group of people, is if they just feel like these are just actors put together just because the plot needed it. Like, no, these guys, you actually buy their friendship, They take out multiple vampires. They have like a whole fucking system and everything. They hook them, and then they get brought out, I think, by some truck, and basically brought out in the sun. Like, they have like a whole fucking system in all this shit, which I really like. So, they successfully end up taking out most of the vampires in the nest. um, and Jack rids most of the nest, but he's still not happy. He hasn't found the leader yet. So we have not found the leader, Master Vampire, as it's called. Valak, yeah. So they celebrate at a whole, I think it's called like the, which is a funny name. I think it's called the Sunrise Motel, which, funny name, right? Because, you know, vampires, sunrise, yeah. Celebrating, they all have hookers, they're just partying. Valak comes to the door, and I will say, Valak's walk to the door, even, like, where you just see him walking to the door, is pretty eerie. Like, they treat Valak with respect, man. Like, when he's on screen, I'm trying to let me find out the actor who plays him. Thomas Ian Griffith. I've seen him in other stuff. He is a great actor, and he was great in this. To me, if you're gonna have an actor play a vampire, you need a really good actor to like exude presence, because you do need to have presence, especially when you're playing a vampire. I just think you need to have it. Obviously, like Bela Lugosi as Dracula. Really, I think most of the Dracula actors have been pretty good with that. Gary Oldman, even trying to think of even the actor, and granted it was more of a not horror movie, but even Dracula in the Van Helsing movie was pretty good. So like they've mostly gotten Dracula right, but like I think in general, like a vampire needs to have presence. The vampires in 30 Days a Night, like the leader vampire in that movie, the actor they got really had presence. So you gotta have that, and I thought he had it in spades in this movie. Especially when he gets to the door, guy lets him in because he doesn't realize who he is. Dude just like slices him in half, like brutal, like not like torso, but like this way down. And yeah, he starts just killing everybody, like the hookers, the other hunters. Well, and it makes sense because partially they're drunk, they're not ready to battle right now, and then Valak's just powerful, so it's just like a bad mix. So he pretty much takes out majority of their party. Um, he ends up biting Katrina, but she doesn't die. So he doesn't bite her enough to kill her. It's like the bite to turn. So Jack and Tony are pretty much left, so they have to run away. They end up escaping with Katrina. And Crow realizing that, because I think she knows who Valak is now that he's been her. He knows her by name, and he knows about the whole lore of you're telepathically linked. So he knows that. So so he ends up taking her. The scene where Tony just steals a guy's car is kind of funny. So they pretty much go to like another hotel while Jack goes back to that goes to the Cardinal. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, there's a scene where this is hard to watch, like because it's one of those scenes where you imagine putting yourself there. You have to go back to the hotel while Tony is at at another hotel with motel with Katrina. You have to go back to that same motel, and you're just looking at your friend's mutilated corpses. That is hard to watch. Not just that, you have to then destroy it. Like, you have to burn the hotel down. He had to, like, decapitate the heads, because, vampire lore, you gotta, because some of it, because he has to, because some of them might turn. So there's that aspect, too. So he has to, unfortunately, cut their heads off, so, like, they don't turn. It is kind of fucked up, because it's one of those things that could put your. That's what I love when a movie is good too. Is when you could imagine putting yourself in that situation. Because yeah, you gotta. It's gonna be hard to stomach that. You're cutting your friends. I mean, not saying he knew everybody in there, but he like a lot of it. These were his fellow vampire hunters that he's teamed with, and I'm assumed for years, right? I'm assuming they've been doing this for years. So for that to happen, and then now you got to cut your fucking friend's head off, and then you got to burn the hotel down. So he ends up doing that, and then he goes to the Cardinal Alba, and then he tells him the story of Valak, who's a former priest who ends up getting turned into a vampire, and so that's kind of cool. I love the lore of the movie, to be honest with you. Like just the little bits of lore we get from this movie, I really like. It's I don't know. I'm a lore guy. Like when if it's really explained well, it makes me like it hooks me. So that was well done in this movie. This is where we meet Adam, who's like a father, but he's another like he works for the church, but obviously Crow initially distrusts him initially, but so Crow thinks his team was betrayed because he thinks like Valak somehow knew, but he wasn't. So we then go back to like a lot of the movie is Tony with with Katrina, and he tells her what's happening, and then she gets one of her visions when she sees Valak go into a church, kill a lady, and then he takes the priest there, and then it comes back later because there's a moment she even tries to bite because I think she tries to I think she tries to kill herself honestly because she gets outside. You think she's trying to escape, but she's actually like just trying to jump off the because I think this is actually a hotel now that I think about it. I don't think this is like a motel. I think it's like an actual hotel now. And yeah, she's about to jump off, assuming because she thinks like all these visions are just too much. So, but Tony ends up saving her, and then yeah, he starts kind of falling for her throughout the movie. He even I'll just jump ahead a little bit. He even goes at Crow because um he doesn't like how he like talking to her, because because he likes her. So she gets one of her visions again now that Crow and Father Adam are like back at the hotel, and she gets one of the visions. This is where she sees Valak order like the priest to give him like a certain location. Priest gives him a location, and then he just kills him. So I will say those vision scenes are pretty good because I like the first person view. Like when you see him like Valak scratching shit, you see his hands. Like it's done really well, and I still really wonder why not more people saw this movie. I don't. Was it Blade? Like, cause I know Blade was the big vampire movie in '98, so I wonder if this just got overlooked along with a lot of people I just think don't know about John Carpenter's later movies. I think more people know his stuff from like the 70s and 80s, even a little bit into the 90s, but this is like I think late 90s and even I think he's done some stuff in the 2000s too that it's just I think get very much overlooked cuz I don't know what it is. It's just I guess we more recognize his stuff from the 70s and 80s. Oh, what's another great vampire movie? I wonder if that also came. I don't know if it came out the same year, but around the same time. There's a movie called Near Dark, which that's a great vampire film too. Which actually I think I might review that one. If not this week, next week, maybe. Maybe Friday I'll do it. We'll see. I'll see how this week goes. Um, but yeah, maybe Friday I'll do that one. If not, we'll do it next week. So Valak then raises his own army. So Valak actually wants a cross called the Black Cross. So it basically it makes him invincible. Like he's able to walk in the sun and all that. Like all the stuff that would kill like a normal vampire, it wouldn't kill him. So that's what he wants, which is cool. I like that they do give the villain a motive. He's not just vampire who just wants blood. You know, because I'm okay with some vampire, like 30 Days a Night, for example. The vampires did have a higher purpose outside of they just wanted food. There's nothing wrong with that sometimes, but I'm okay with a vampire having something more like it makes sense. If he's able to get this thing that's able to basically make him the ultimate vampire that can go in the sun, he can go out during daylight. I think a lot of the stuff that would normally kill a vampire wouldn't kill him. So yeah, it would be. I don't mind every now and then a vampire having more of a plot than just I want food, you know. So at this point, um, Katrina, they're using like her psychic links to